Experts say one of the most important conversations parents can have with their children are those about gun violence prevention, from safe handling to the emotions that come up after devastating violent acts. Local 5's Emma Schroner is here in studio. And Emma, what can parents teach their kids?
Alex, it's not an easy discussion to have, but it's one that can save lives. And both police and psychologists say awareness is key. Des Moines Police Sergeant Paul Parizek says the number of illegally possessed guns in the area has increased steadily since 2020, and many of those are seized from kids. With a student bringing a handgun to North High School last week in the mass shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, the topic is heavy on many minds. In a time of grief, worry, and fear, Parizek urges parents to be proactive about their child's mental health.
Everything starts at home, and you need to do everything you can to make sure that you're accessible to your child, that your child feels safe with you, and if they don't, to figure out if there's someone, a safe adult or a therapist or somebody that they can talk to.
In those conversations, clinical psychologist Dr. Lori Stevick-Russ says to embrace the difficult emotions.
Once they name what that feeling is, we can get a hold of it, like I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm sad. We help them experience that and talk about that we have similar feelings.
Parizek says another essential part of the discussion is talking about guns and how to handle them.
If you have firearms in your house, 100%, you need to talk to your kids about guns and safety and safe handling and what they're for and when and how to use them. And what do you do if you see one laying on the ground?
Above all, he believes it's about making sure kids aren't able to use guns to commit violence.
We work so hard to make sure kids don't get alcohol or cigarettes. You know, we need to put the same effort into making sure they don't have access to firearms because they're just not responsible enough to handle them.
Here in Des Moines, Polk County Health launched a Talk It Up, Lock It Up program to further advocate for more open dialogue and normalize talking about the topic. You can find places to pick up a free gun lock as well as safety tips on polkcountyiowa.gov.
And here in Iowa, many celebrations took place across the state, including multiple events in the Des Moines Metro. Local 5's J.D. Snover went to see what it was all about.
From a parade of fully American-made cars this morning to an afternoon festival on the city's north side, Iowans were out in full force celebrating the holiday.
Happy Labor Day, Iowa!
For millions of Americans, Labor Day is a day removed from the working world. That includes union workers for whom the holiday was created.
All of our union contracts, we have Labor Day off, and in some of our contracts, the only day that's guaranteed to be off. Can't even be forced to work it.
It's a day to honor how far their laborers have come.
So important to the labor movement to celebrate what we've built, the 40-hour work week, overtime, the weekend. All that good stuff comes from organized labor and the work they've done over decades and decades and decades.
A day to come together for their common cause.
We need to say loud and clear that unions must exist to not only protect the rights of workers, but protect the rights of families and their children so they can feed them and clothe them and house them.
And a day to pass their values on to a new generation.
You'll see kids running around everywhere having a good time, and we've got piles and piles of candy to drop on them while we're here because we want them to get enthusiastic about the labor movement too.
Now, union members tell me that while today is a day to reflect on the past, it's also a day to think about how much work there is left to do in the future. In Des Moines, I'm J.D. Snover, Local 5 News.
The 6.0 magnitude earthquake in Afghanistan is hitting close to home for one central Iowan. His wife and children are still in eastern Afghanistan, where the tremor struck just before midnight on Sunday. Local 5's Alex Fulton met with the refugee on how his loved ones are doing tonight. Alex.
Well, Larissa, thankfully, no one in his family was hurt in the earthquake. The Afghan refugee came to the U.S. on a special immigrant visa after serving with American troops during the war in Afghanistan. He asked to remain anonymous to avoid putting his family in danger with the Taliban.
A lot of these people are just, they have lost everything.
A central Iowan from Afghanistan says homes belonging to his family's neighbors are now just a pile of rubble, just like these photos show. The family in the photos are from Wadapur, a district in the Afghanistan province of Kunar.
Some of the neighbors have died, and they are also trying to find bodies of people who houses were destroyed.
Speaking through a translator, the refugee says everyone in his family is okay, but many of the walls in the home have cracks due to the earthquake.
It is very hard just to be away from your kids, your family. It has been 4 years and I've been taking some medicine for anxiety and stress and all that.
The refugee's nephew, Insanallah Muhammad, says because of the extensive damage, they'll have to completely reconstruct the home.
This is our house. We have no other place to go. So we'll have to just try to rebuild it.
Muhammad expects the death toll will rise as authorities continue to comb through the rubble.
They are still searching, and the people are even afraid to sleep inside their houses, the remaining houses basically. So people just sleep outside in case the earthquake happen again.
Now, the founder of Iowa Afghan Community says there are several people here in central Iowa who have lost loved ones in the earthquake. The organization plans to host a prayer vigil for them sometime this weekend.
Happening today, the West Des Moines City Council now set to vote on the next big step for a multi-million-dollar expansion at the Recplex.
Now, the project, which was first announced last year, would add a new event center to that popular facility. Local 5's Megan McPherson is live outside the Recplex this morning. And Megan, what would this vote mean for the expansion?
Well, Dana and Joseph, the Recplex here in West Des Moines is consistently busy with the 2 ice rinks, the turf fields, and the other sports facilities in constant use from early morning until late night, pretty much 7 days a week. Actually, there's a youth hockey team in there. They've been on the ice for about 45 minutes already this morning practicing. So kids here early until, again, late night for those practices. Now, that existing demand, along with future plans to host larger tournaments and events, even from a national scale, is what fueled plans for this expansion. Now, as plans for the project started taking shape, several construction management companies put in bids for the project. Now, tonight, the City Council will consider awarding the contract to Kraus Anderson. That's the firm they've selected after a competitive bidding process. This vote would lock in their management and bonding fees, but it does not yet commit the city to the full price tag that would come later. Now, here's a look at the renderings. The expansion would add about 100,000 square feet to the complex, which is already very large. The biggest feature for the expansion is a third sheet of ice, along with more spectator seating, meeting rooms, a grab-and-go market, and other amenities. To pay for it, the city has already lined up $26 million in bonds, and the remaining costs are expected to be covered through private donations, grants, and naming rights. Now, let's talk timing with all of this. If approved by the City Council tonight, the design work would be wrapped up by this fall. They say that construction could start as early as November, and then they'd hope to be opening the expanded facility by late 2026 or early 2027. Live in West Des Moines this morning, Megan McPherson, Local 5 News.
Well, as Congress returns to Washington, D.C. this week, some groups of Iowans are paying close attention to one bill. Local 5's J.D. Snover spoke with them to find out why.
Multiple environmental advocacy groups penned a letter to Iowa's congressional delegations last week asking them to take a closer look at the Permit Act. They say it would be detrimental to Iowa's drinking water sources, while supporters say it's a bill that's merely about eliminating government oversight.
It's baffling to me to see the problems we face here that we've had this summer, and then have Congress trying to roll back the limited protections that we have in place.
53 years after the Clean Water Act initially put restrictions in place to try to protect water sources from pollution, a bill moving through the U.S. House of Representatives would get rid of a few of its regulations. The Permit Act would exclude multiple forms of water from the protections. It specifically names waters that only flow due to precipitation and wetlands, but also gives the Army Corps of Engineers the power to decide what else should be excluded.
By removing those protections for certain waterways, it will increase the likelihood for more pollution and the likelihood for even more flooding.
It's also coming on the heels of high nitrate levels in the Des Moines and Raccoon rivers, causing a ban on lawn watering in the middle of the summer, in part due to agricultural runoff. While the Clean Water Act doesn't specifically address that source, it does cover things like industrial discharge upstream.
The industry does not regulate itself. We need restrictions because it's generally cheaper to send pollution downstream instead of dealing with it on site.
The bill supporters say the changes would promote additional infrastructure. A spokesperson in Representative Ashley Hinson's office tells Local 5 she supports the bill for this reason and says she's led other legislation that would more specifically address Iowa's problems. We have reached out to the offices of the other 3 representatives, but have not heard back.
The bill is on the House calendar and could be voted on as early as next week. Along the Raccoon River, I'm J.D. Snover, Local 5 News.
Marshalltown police say cameras around town have helped solve certain crimes almost immediately. That was the case with a recent incident that left one person hospitalized for a gunshot wound. Local 5's Alex Fulton went to Marshalltown to find out how the tech led officials to crack the case.
Last Tuesday, one person was shot and another assaulted here at Nicholson Ford Park. Marshalltown police were later able to arrest a suspect thanks to a piece of technology.
The technology is extremely beneficial for us.
The 2 victims who were at Nicholson Ford Park, along with witnesses, gave authorities a description of the vehicle.
We really didn't have a whole lot to go off right away, short of a vehicle description. So we were able to use our flock cameras.
Captain Kyle Stevenson with Marshalltown Police says one of the flock cameras helped authorities zero in on a vehicle the day of the incident.
It was kind of a unique vehicle description, and we were able to use the cameras to find that vehicle and identify the vehicle and then ultimately the occupants of the vehicle.
We've seen customers that deploy this technology and within the first hour are actually able to solve a crime.
Flock safety spokesperson Holly Balin says the cameras capture information on the cars passing by, data that is stored for 30 days.
The machine learning software on the vehicle is able to not only pick up the license plate, but also categorize details like the vehicle's color or the make, the model.
Marshalltown police were able to get a search warrant and arrest a suspect, 19-year-old Nicholas Oliveras, at his home outside Marshalltown.
When you have a dangerous person that's out on the streets, it's nice to be able to act fast and take decisive action to get them off the streets and keep the community safe.
Since the cameras were implemented about a year ago, Captain Stevenson says they've been essential to solving crime.
The cameras, in my personal opinion and the opinions of many here, have been one of the most instrumental things that we've done from technology standpoint here at the police department.
Marshalltown Police says the victims appear to have been specifically targeted. Authorities expect there will be additional arrests made. In Marshalltown, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
Plans are cooking for the JBS Sausage Plant's future in Perry. Tonight, the City Council approved a $10 million TIF rebate for JBS.
It'll be a good-sized project, so should be some competitive bids. That's way far in the future, looking at the crystal ball, but they've been good to work with and excited to move forward with this development agreement.
Within the proposed development agreement, the city has factored in participation in the Revitalize Iowa's Sound Economic Program, also known as RISE. Their application for the grant has been submitted, but not yet approved.
If the RISE grant does not come through, part of the development agreements are that we get to go back to the table and discuss the costs of those improvements, whether that's sharing or looking at other funding opportunities.
The company says the plan is projected to create 250 local construction jobs and has the potential to create 500 more direct jobs.
We were able to find a really good corporate citizen and to partner with to help bring some jobs back to the community and hopefully first of many projects and investments in the community.
As for breaking ground, the council is expected to put plans on the agenda tomorrow.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think they'll be closing on the property quickly, getting their grading permits, everything buttoned up with that so that we can issue the grading permit and they can get started on grading.
Well, people in Ankeny will have another decision to make when they vote this November. The school board wants voters to approve a new bond. Local 5's J.D. Snover looked into the plan.
The Ankeny School Board voted Tuesday night to send a $130 million bond referendum to the ballots this November. The bulk of that money, $80 million, towards a, quote, innovative hub, which will be added here at Northview Middle School.
We have a longer range plan than this, but we want to take, 3 to 5 years at a time and then consider the environment for the next 3 to 5 years and consider what's appropriate at that time.
As the Des Moines Metro continues to grow, school districts are looking for ways to adapt. Ankeny is no different. The school district there says growing student populations means growing needs for a variety of opportunities. It's why they're proposing an $80 million innovative hub to allow for students to explore what different careers can bring. Similar opportunities do already exist, like for those interested in agriculture, but they require those students to travel out of district.
We have nearly 100 students who want to explore agriculture, and so again, it takes space to grow and plant and work with chemicals like in a lab. And so we need the facilities in order to offer these programming.
They're proposing funding the project through General Obligation Bond, which is a tool districts can use specifically for facilities. And while some have raised concerns about an increase in taxes, the district claims the project would not lead to that.
Right now, Ankeny's debt service levy, the ceiling of that portion of our tax levy is $2.59. And what we are proposing would keep our levy within that amount.
Other parts of the proposal include fine arts expansion and upgrades to athletic facilities.
In Ankeny, I'm JD Snover, Local 5 News.
For the first time in over a decade, DART is doing a major overhaul of its public transit network. Today, the agency, which serves most of the metro, unveiled the first draft of the reimagined DART plan. Local 5's Alex Fulton breaks down the most notable changes to know about.
DART could go from 27 routes to 10 under the reimagined DART plan. Still, DART officials are adamant the changes will get people where they need to go faster.
Reimagined DART is all about redesigning our service in order to meet the biggest needs of our community.
One of the major changes through reimagined DART gets rid of the express routes, which were designed to get people downtown.
That's not the travel pattern we're seeing anymore. We are seeing more people needing to travel at all times of day and on nights and weekends. And so we are spreading out the service.
DART CEO Amanda Wonke says the proposed map will pick up riders on the most popular routes every 15 minutes. This includes routes that go through MLK, Ingersoll, and University.
Our highest frequency routes today are every 20 minutes. And so we are really excited to be able to offer that frequency.
The plan also adds DART on-demand services in Altoona, Clive, and Ankeny. The service allows people to choose the pickup and drop-off location similar to ride-sharing apps.
It's really important to know that this plan is based on feedback from our community and our elected officials.
Instead of pickup every hour, the bus would come every 30 minutes on weekends for Matthew Schenkel's commute to Altoona.
That is actually a lot better for me as someone who works at Outlets of Des Moines. Getting out there on weekends is harder right now than on weekdays.
The proposal comes as DART is dealing with financial challenges. These include a decrease in property tax revenue due to legislative changes and lower ridership.
It's been really important that we get the budget to a stable point, which means aligning the amount of service we have with what our communities can afford and reducing our reliance on one-time funds.
DART will be accepting feedback on the draft plan through the end of September. After that, the DART Commission will vote on it by December, and the changes will be implemented by next summer. In downtown Des Moines, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
After discourse between Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the CDC, the future of vaccine policy is still unclear. This comes as the CDC reports a rise in COVID-19 cases. Local 5's Larissa Leone joins us with more on where the Polk County Health Department is on their COVID advice.
Stephanie, Polk County Health Department says thus far it is not seeing a concerning upward trend of COVID-19 cases here in Iowa. Though its director, Julian Van Loo, says there are ongoing efforts to abide by CDC guidelines and Iowa HHS for COVID-19 clarity on vaccine availability and insurance coverage.
Vaccine policies have been a large argument as federal HHS and former CDC employees express concerns over Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s leadership. The Trump administration and former CDC Director Dr. Susan Minares at odds over vaccine restrictions, leading her to be fired and 4 other senior officials at the Public Health Agency to resign in response. Former CDC Acting Director Dr. Richard Besser is among those who decided to leave.
What we're asking for is for Congress to fulfill its obligation of oversight for the department and make sure that this is not allowed to just continue.
A lot of trouble at CDC, and it's going to require getting rid of some people over the long term in order for us to change the institutional culture.
With all these changes, what does this mean for vaccination policies here in Iowa? Polk County Health Director Julian Van Loo says it is still unclear.
for example, whether or not insurance will reimburse for those vaccines and all those sorts of things. So unfortunately, we don't have kind of our own set of guidance and guidelines to be able to share today because we're really in a learning space right now.
Besides insurance coverage of the COVID-19 vaccine, Van Loo says it's hard to tell what the availability of the vaccine in the state will be.
In terms of what kind of allotment will be given to us by the state, in terms of, what we'll be able to purchase on our own and afford to kind of be able to stock and give away to folks.
Despite the lack of information thus far, Polk County Health shares they are following science and are working to ensure those in need of the vaccine get it.
When we do have a little more clarity on guidelines that we can make sure that those at highest risk get access to these vaccines, that includes obviously our most vulnerable populations, those uninsured and otherwise.
And now that we are feeling some cooler temperatures, it's a reminder cold and flu season is right around the corner. Local 5's JD Snover talked to area health officials to figure out how they're preparing and what's next.
Yeah, Stephanie, that's right. They told me there's still a lot of uncertainty in terms of what this year will actually look like by the end of it, but they're still starting to roll out some reminders.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to tell. We don't have the same data that we usually do, for flu right now.
As the calendar flips to September and fall begins, the annual cold and flu season is drawing nearer.
We have seen some uptick in flu cases recently, a couple things coming through.
That's why the first doses of the flu vaccine have made their way into area doctors' offices.
What I'm seeing in our community as a practicing physician, we are seeing a lot more respiratory illnesses. We're seeing a little bit of flu. We're seeing some uptick in COVID. We're seeing a lot of hand, foot, and mouth, so there's a lot of viral respiratory illnesses going around right now.
National data shows 47% of U.S. adults got the jab last year, while state data shows about 35.5% of Iowa's population participated. Those state numbers are down by about 5% from where they were in 2019. For those who do choose to get vaccinated, doctors say between now and Halloween is the ideal time.
As the weather gets colder, too, people tend to, be indoors more. And when you're indoors, you're in closer spaces with each other, so those viruses are typically passed through, respiratory sneezes, coughing, all of that.
And for those who choose not to, health officials still have a few reminders.
Also keep them home when they're sick. Also focus on hands and hygiene and all those kind of typical things as we're going in. They seem small, but added up together, they actually do make a really big impact.
Now, the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services will start to release their weekly reports on respiratory illnesses in just about a month. Stephanie.
One of Polk County's longest-serving supervisors won't be seeking re-election next year. Democrat Angela Connolly, who represents the 5th District, has been in office for the last 25 years. Local 5's Alex Fulton is here with the moments that defined her career. Alex.
Well, Stephanie, Angela Connolly says she's happy with what she's done as a Polk County supervisor. Her greatest achievement came when the Iowa Events Center opened because it benefited the entire community.
I'm proud of the work that I've done here.
Angela Connolly wanted to run for a Polk County Board of Supervisors seat because she noticed Veterans Auditorium needed a little TLC.
Frankly, the first thing that someone brought to my attention was Veterans Auditorium was then almost 50 years old and we needed to do something different.
The highlight of her career came shortly after being elected with the development of the Iowa Events Center.
I think that was a true game changer for not only Polk County, but really for the state of Iowa. When you think about NCAA and all the concerts that come to our region, it really has made a significant quality of life change.
Once the Iowa Events Center was up and running, Connolly says more attractions started popping up around Des Moines.
We brought in the new Science Center, the Papa John Center, we renovated the library, so it really made all of those other buildings, we made capital improvements.
The supervisor says her decision to not run for re-election came down to her age and wanting a younger voice on the board.
I hope they remember that I took my job seriously and that public service means something. Those two words really mean something.
Whoever takes her place, Connolly wants them to always make the best decisions for the residents of Polk County.
Polk County really is a great government, and we have wonderful employees that really take care of the people of Polk County and work hard every single day to make their lives better.
Now, Connolly plans to spend her extra time with her 5 grandchildren. They're involved in sports and she wants to attend more of their sporting events. Stephanie.